What if the gods of ancient Sumer weren't gods at all, but visitors from the stars? These powerful beings, worshipped for millennia as deities, may have been far more than myth. Ancient texts describe them descending from the heavens with knowledge and purpose, shaping the dawn of civilization. Their presence lingers not only in ruins and stories, but in the DNA of our understanding of who we are. In this series, we will unlock the cosmic enigma of the Anunnaki and the mysterious legacy of one of their greatest, Enki. This is a journey into ancient origins, forbidden knowledge, and truths hidden in plain sight. Welcome to Lost Galaxy Lore and to the first chapter of Anunnaki, the movie, The Anunnaki Legacy. The Anunnaki are a group of deities from ancient Sumerian culture, often described as powerful sky beings who descended to Earth. Revered as creators and rulers, they played an instrumental role in shaping the early structures of human life: agriculture, law, language, and architecture. These weren't just symbolic figures. In the oldest known texts, they are portrayed as living entities who governed Earth's earliest cities. Humanity, according to these records, was not the pinnacle of creation, but the byproduct of Anunnaki needs, a servant species engineered to work and worship. This narrative challenges everything modern society assumes about its origins. Central to these revelations is the Lost Book of Enki, a rare and profound ancient text attributed to one of the Anunnaki lords himself. Within its verses lie riddles of creation, rebellion, and perhaps even redemption, a window into a story far older than recorded history. Enki, the god of wisdom. Among the pantheon of the Anunnaki, Enki stands apart. Known as the god of wisdom, he embodies knowledge, creation, and compassion. Unlike his more authoritarian counterparts, Enki often appears in Sumerian mythology as a friend and protector of mankind. It was Enki who allegedly gave humans the tools to thrive, gifts such as agriculture, architecture, and understanding of the stars. His symbols include flowing water and serpents, signifying both life and secret knowledge. In the epic tales, he often defies the will of the other gods to help humanity survive and evolve. As we move through this series, Enki's influence will be ever-present, and his mysterious legacy will serve as both compass and key to understanding the Anunnaki's deeper role in human evolution. His is a story of wisdom at war with control, a divine being torn between loyalty to his kind and compassion for ours. The quest for knowledge. This series is more than myth, it is a pursuit, a quest to unearth hidden truths buried beneath sand and stone, written in symbols too ancient for the modern world to grasp at a glance. The Lost Book of Enki is not just a text, it is a forbidden manuscript, a guide to the forgotten origins of mankind. It challenges the boundaries between religion, history, and science. What if these ancient scripts, passed down through temple priests, carved in cuneiform on clay tablets, held secrets that could change the very fabric of our beliefs? What if humanity's creators left behind a record not of fantasy, but of fact? Each chapter in this series is a step deeper into that forgotten realm, a realm where gods might be aliens, and where the past shapes our destiny in ways we are only beginning to comprehend. To understand the Anunnaki, we must journey back in time, to the ancient world of Mesopotamia. Picture vast rivers winding through deserts, giving life to cities where gods walked beside kings. The sacred city of Nibiru, the ancient capital of worship, held the divine laws of the universe. Eridu, considered the first city on Earth, was believed to be founded by Enki himself. Towering ziggurats reach toward the stars, perhaps built not just to honor the heavens, but to communicate with them. This world was vibrant, mystical, and technologically advanced beyond what many believe possible for its time. It is in these locations, among ruins and relics, that the whispers of the Anunnaki still echo. With cinematic storytelling and rich visual recreations, we will revive these lost worlds and invite you to step into them, to feel what our ancestors felt, and perhaps to see what they saw. Themes and questions. As we uncover the Anunnaki legacy, deeper questions rise to the surface, questions that transcend time and culture. What does it mean to be created by beings from the stars? If the gods of ancient texts were alien, how does that reshape our concept of divinity, destiny, and the soul? Are we alone, or were we never truly alone to begin with? This series is not just about history, it is about perspective, about connecting myth to science, spirituality to archaeology, and belief to evidence. Through the lens of Enki and the Anunnaki, we explore themes of creation, rebellion, free will, and knowledge. Each chapter invites you to question not just the past, but your place in the universe. Could these ancient stories be more than allegory? Could they be a message, waiting to be decoded? We've uncovered the significance of the Anunnaki and their profound influence on ancient Sumerian culture, as well as the mysteries enshrouding the Lost Book of Enki. As this cinematic journey continues, prepare to dive deeper into the celestial conflict that brought gods to Earth, the genetic experiments that may have birthed mankind, and the timeless knowledge that could forever alter our understanding of who and what we truly are. Chapter 2. Earth before the gods, the planet they found. Before the gods arrived, Earth was untamed, but not untouched. Long before recorded history, before temples rose and laws were etched in stone, our planet pulsed with primal energy. Volcanoes bled fire, oceans raged, and skies cracked with the fury of a world still forming. But amid this chaos, Earth held a secret, a rare treasure hidden in the dust of its creation. A world rich in gold, fertile in soil, and positioned at a cosmic crossroads. It was this Earth, raw and unruled, that drew the eyes of gods. This is the story of the planet before the myths, the untouched Earth before it was claimed, a planet of potential. When the Anunnaki first set their gaze upon Earth, it was not to marvel at its beauty, it was to exploit its promise. According to the ancient texts, Earth's abundance of gold was not merely aesthetic or symbolic. This metal, revered across every ancient civilization, held properties the Anunnaki desperately needed. Their own world, Nibiru, was in crisis. A deteriorating atmosphere threatened their survival, and gold, when suspended in their skies, offered a solution. But gold was scarce on Nibiru. It had to be found elsewhere. Earth, glimmering in the darkness of space, offered exactly what they needed. And so the gods descended, not as creators, but as cosmic miners on a mission. The arrival. Sumerian tablets speak of a dramatic descent. The sky opened, and from it came fire, smoke, and the rumble of machines. The Anunnaki did not arrive as ethereal spirits. They came in physical form, in crafts described as celestial chariots and burning ships. Their leader, Enlil, was said to have led the first mission, establishing a base of operations in what would become Mesopotamia. There, amid the Fertile Crescent, the Anunnaki built their first settlements, Eridu and Larsa, cities long thought to be myth, but increasingly supported by archaeological clues. Their mission was clear: harvest Earth's resources, particularly gold, and transport it back to their dying world. Earth's first occupants. But Earth was not truly empty. Before humanity, other beings roamed the land, some primitive, some advanced beyond our understanding. The Sumerian king list speaks of rulers with lifespans lasting tens of thousands of years. Other traditions refer to the Watchers, beings who observed, intervened, and sometimes ruled before the gods themselves took over. Were these the remnants of another ancient race? Survivors of a forgotten age? Some theorists believe Earth was once a host to ancient civilizations long erased: Atlantis, Lemuria, or even Martian refugees seeking sanctuary. The Anunnaki's arrival, then, may not have been the beginning, but rather a takeover, one of many epochs in Earth's layered past. Terraforming the Earth. The Anunnaki did not merely observe the planet, they reshaped it. Ancient texts describe vast engineering feats, the redirecting of rivers, the building of massive canals, the carving of mountains. The sudden emergence of agriculture and irrigation in Sumerian society, seemingly overnight, may be a lingering echo of these ancient works. But more intriguing still are the geological anomalies, ancient mines in southern Africa, carbon dated to over 200,000 years old, with no known civilization to account for them. Could these be remnants of the Anunnaki's early mining operations? And if so, what tools were used? What technology left no trace, or left traces we've yet to recognize? The first conflicts. As the Anunnaki settled the Earth, their unity fractured. Some desired full dominion over the planet. Others wished only to complete their mission and return home. Enlil, the commander, was stern and authoritarian. Enki, the scientist, was curious and compassionate. Their rivalry began to surface, a cosmic sibling rivalry that would soon engulf humanity. Earth, with its beauty and resources, had become more than just a mining colony. It was becoming something else, a battlefield for divine agendas. The seeds of war, rebellion, and creation itself were being sown. Echoes in modern science. Modern discoveries are slowly catching up with ancient claims. Recent research has shown unusual levels of gold in Earth's crust, as if deposited intentionally or mined unevenly over time. DNA studies reveal sudden leaps in human intelligence and development, unexplained by slow natural evolution. Could the presence of the Anunnaki, their technology, experiments, and manipulations be the missing link? What if ancient myths about the gods descending from the sky are not metaphors, but eyewitness accounts? What if we are the result of an ancient experiment, or a legacy left behind? Questions that endure. Why Earth? Of all the worlds in the universe, why did the Anunnaki choose this one? Was it simply for resources, or was there something more? Did they know of Earth's unique frequency, its spiritual energy, its place in the cosmic web? Some traditions claim Earth is a living being, an entity with consciousness. Did the Anunnaki sense this? Did they interact with it, or manipulate it for their own ends? As we explore these ancient mysteries, we must ask, was Earth always ours, or was it always theirs? The transformation begins. By the end of this chapter, Earth is no longer the wild, untamed planet it once was. It has become the domain of gods, structured, surveyed, and seeded with purpose. The gold begins to flow, the ziggurats rise, and the first whispers of civilization stir in the wind. But the most important transformation is yet to come, the creation of a new species. A hybrid being, born not entirely of Earth, but not entirely of the stars either. And that creation is us. Chapter 3. The creation of mankind. The genetic experiment that changed everything. What if humanity wasn't a product of evolution alone, but a result of divine engineering? The ancient Sumerians did not believe they evolved from apes. They told a different story, one that begins with gods, gold, and genetics. According to the Lost Book of Enki, humanity was not born, we were made. Not by chance, but by design. Not by nature, but by need. This is the origin the textbooks avoid, the version carved into clay long before modern science dared to ask the question, where do we really come from? And the problem, gold extraction. The Anunnaki mission to Earth was clear, extract gold and save Nibiru. But after generations of labor, even the gods grew weary. The mining was brutal. The terrain was harsh. The lower-ranking Anunnaki, known as the Igigi, began to rebel. The Atrahasis epic recounts a pivotal moment. The gods went on strike. They refused to dig another ounce. Faced with mutiny and mission failure, The leaders met in secret. Enlil, frustrated and furious, wanted punishment. But Enki, the god of wisdom and science, offered a different solution. Let us create a worker. The blueprint of life. Enki, alongside the healing goddess Ninhursag, embarked on what may be the oldest bioengineering project ever recorded. Their plan, to blend the life forms of Earth with the essence of the gods. The result would be a new species, intelligent, obedient, and capable of labor. This being would bridge the worlds of the Anunnaki and the terrestrial. In modern terms, it was genetic manipulation. In ancient terms, it was divine creation. The Sumerians called the prototype Lulu Amelu, the mixed man. In Enki's own words, recorded in Cuneiform, "Let us fashion the Lulu, the primitive worker, so he may bear the yoke." The genetic alchemy. Ancient tablets describe this process in stunning detail. The essence of an earthly hominid, likely a Homo erectus or early human, was fused with the one blood of a god. But this blood wasn't literal. It referred to genetic material, possibly DNA or a symbolic representation of it. The Anunnaki used clay, the metaphorical building block of life, as their medium, a perfect allegory for molecular manipulation. Ninhursag, the geneticist and mother goddess, shaped the first humans in what they described as a birth chamber, a vessel that echoes our modern understanding of artificial wombs or laboratory incubators. The result? A new being, not entirely Anunnaki, not entirely human, something in between, first attempts and failures. But creation did not come without trial. Sumerian accounts detail a series of failed prototypes. Some could not speak, others could not reproduce. Some were monstrous, too aggressive, too fragile, too unstable. One text even refers to a man with no eyes and a being with no mouth. These chilling images echo tales of genetic misfires, the kind of experimentation science fiction has long warned about, and modern cloning fears to replicate. Eventually, after many iterations, a success was born. A being capable of understanding commands, performing tasks, and surviving in the harsh environments of early Earth. The first, Adam, not as a lone man in a garden, but as a prototype in a genetic lab. The gift and curse of intelligence. Initially, these beings were sterile, dependent on the Anunnaki to create more through artificial means. But Enki, moved by compassion or perhaps rebellion, altered the design. He introduced self-reproduction, giving humans the power to multiply without divine intervention. This act was both revolutionary and dangerous. It granted humans a kind of independence, a spark of the divine, uncontained. Enlil was furious. He had wanted servants, not successors. This tension between Enlil and Enki, between control and liberation, becomes a recurring theme. It marks the moment when humanity becomes more than a tool. It becomes a threat. Some echoes in modern DNA. Thousands of years later, scientists still struggle to explain a key mystery: the fiber, sudden leap in human intelligence. Known as the Great Leap Forward, this period saw an explosion in language, art, and abstract thought, with no clear evolutionary path. Add to this the existence of on chromosome 2, a unique fusion found only in humans, and you begin to see what ancient texts were hinting at. We are different, engineered perhaps, hybridized. The missing link is a locked blueprint, the myth that matches science. Across cultures, this tale repeats. In the Bible, Adam is created from clay. In Egypt, Khnum molds man on a potter's wheel. In India, Prajapati crafts humans from the elements. And in Mesoamerica, the gods attempt to make humans out of mud, then wood, then finally corn. All of them speak of creation through key, trial, and material, as if recalling a forgotten truth whispered through generations. Are these coincidences, or collective memories of a real event, obscured by time and religion. A question of free will. With reproduction came population. With intelligence came questions. Who are we? Why are we here? And if the gods made us, what do we owe them? Enki encouraged these questions, often appearing in dreams or signs to guide humanity. Enlil, by contrast, sought to suppress them, favoring obedience and silence. The clash would eventually lead to disaster, the flood, the exile, the wars of gods and men. But for now, the humans were growing, learning, evolving. From tools to beings, the Anunnaki had created laborers. What they got was something more, something unpredictable, something that might one day replace them. And so the world changed, not with a bang, but with a breath, the breath of a new species awakening to its place in the cosmos. The human story, once unwritten, had begun, not in Eden, but in a lab, not by chance, but by intention. And its consequences were just beginning. Chapter 4. Rise of the First Cities, when gods ruled as kings. What if the first kings of Earth weren't men at all, but gods in flesh and bone? As the dust settled from the dawn of human creation, something new began to emerge on the fertile plains of Mesopotamia. Humanity, no longer a primitive worker, was beginning to organize, to build, to dream. But they did not do this alone. The Sumerian king list, a mysterious text etched in cuneiform, tells us something astounding. The very first rulers of Earth were not human. They were the Anunnaki themselves, before the flood, before dynasties, before pharaohs and Caesars. There was Eridus, the first city, at the divine descent of kingship. According to ancient texts, kingship was not invented. It was lowered from the heavens. And the Sumerians believed that rulership was a divine institution, passed down from the gods to ensure order among the humans they had created. But this wasn't metaphor. It was literal. The gods didn't just appoint kings. They were the kings. In Shiz Eridu, the god, Enki ruled directly, establishing laws, temples, and systems of governance. In Nippur, the sacred center of Enlil, decisions were made that shaped the destiny of all mankind. And cities were not just population centers, they were cosmic nodes, aligned with stars, built with intent, and ruled by immortals. The Sumerian king list records reigns lasting tens of thousands of years. Alulim of Eridu, 28,800 years. Enmenluana of Badtibira, 43,200 years. Modern historians call these myth. But what if they're records, distorted by time but rooted in truth? Eridu, the first city of the gods. Eridu is often considered the oldest city in the world. In Sumerian lore, it was the home of Enki, the god of water, wisdom, and creation. It was here that the divine meets mortal world took shape. Archaeologists have found layers upon layers of temples at Eridu, each built upon the ruins of the last, suggesting continual veneration over millennia. The temples weren't just places of worship. They were houses of the gods, literal residences where the Anunnaki were believed to live, rule, and give orders. Each city had its patron deity, and each deity had a ziggurat, a towering step temple believed to connect heaven and earth. To the people of ancient Mesopotamia, these gods weren't faraway myths. They walked among them. They dated their tables, saw their rituals, and but demanded tribute. And the cities of the gods, a network of power. As time went on, more cities emerged under Anunnaki rule. Bad Tibira, ruled by Ninurta, the warrior god and son of Enlil. Larak, seat of Nana, the moon god. The city of Utu Shamash, god of the sun and justice. Shurupak, later home to Utnapishtim, the Sumerian Noah. Each city had its role. Some focused on metallurgy, others on trade, healing, or astronomy. It was a civilization machine, constructed and managed by beings of immense knowledge and power. These cities formed a sacred grid, aligned not only with rivers and trade routes, but with celestial constellations. This was not accidental. It was a master plan, one that echoed the Anunnaki's origins in the stars, the divine hierarchy. The Anunnaki operated much like a royal family. Anu, the Sky Father, ruled from afar, often from Nibiru, and Enlil, his heir, was commander on earth, stern, authoritative. Enki, the engineer and rebel, governed from the Abzu in Eridu. Etul, Inanna, Ishtar, goddess of love and war, ruled Uruk and its people with fiery passion. And Ninhursag, the mother goddess, cared for the humans they created. Each deity had temples, rituals, followers, and most importantly, power. That power extended over both gods and men. The people worshipped not out of blind faith, but because they saw miracles. Healing, flying machines, weapons of lightning, tablets of destiny. The Anunnaki weren't mythical to them. They were government and God in one. And the rebellion of the Igigi, again. But peace never lasts forever. While the Anunnaki ruled the cities below, their former laborers, the Igigi, watched from above. According to the Book of Enoch, the Igigi, or Watchers, eventually descended again. This time not to mine gold, but to take human women as wives. This act, forbidden and dangerous, created the Nephilim, giants, heroes, and abominations. Their existence destabilized the balance the Anunnaki had tried so hard to maintain. The rule of gods over cities was now in question. Factions formed, rivalries ignited, and humanity stood caught in the middle, subjects of gods who no longer agreed on what to do with them. Atron, whispers of rebellion, rumors of flood. Enlil, ever focused on order, began to see humans as a threat. They were multiplying too quickly. Their noise disturbed the heavens. Their potential, unlocked by Enki, was growing out of control. The decision was whispered in sacred halls. A cleansing must come. But not all agreed. Enki, forever humanity's ally, plotted a different path. The golden age of divine kingship was drawing to a close. The cities would soon fall. Chapter 5. The Great Flood. The day the gods hit reset. What if the biblical flood wasn't a myth, but a planned extinction event by alien gods? Long before Noah's Ark was whispered across generations, the Sumerians told of a flood, a colossal deluge not of nature's wrath, but of divine judgment. The ancient tablets speak of a deliberate act, carried out by the Anunnaki to erase their own creation. Humanity had grown too noisy, too chaotic, too independent, and so the gods decided it was time to wipe the slate clean. But not all gods agreed. The reason for the reset. As humanity expanded, so too did its ambition. The people built cities, raised monuments, explored art and love and war. They were no longer just obedient workers. They were thinking, growing, evolving. To Enlil, the supreme commander, this was unacceptable. He viewed humans as an infestation, loud, uncontrollable, and dangerous. Their growing numbers, their unapproved unions with the Igigi, and their rising independence posed a threat to the divine order. The ancient texts describe how Enlil convened a secret council. The conclusion? A great flood would be sent to exterminate humanity, destroy its cities, and drown its legacy beneath layers of mud and myth. Atl, the secret rebellion of Enki. But Enlil wasn't the only voice among the gods. Enki, the creator of mankind and god of wisdom, refused to let his beloved humans perish without warning. Though he was forbidden to speak of the flood directly, he found a way around it, by speaking to a reed wall, behind which stood a righteous man, Ziusudra, or as later traditions named him, Utnapishtim, or Noah. Enki instructed him to build a vast boat, not for animals as in the Bible, but to preserve humanity's essence, its wisdom, its memory, its spark. Enki didn't just want to save life, he wanted to save legacy. The instructions were clear. Build it large and seal it with bitumen. Stock it with food and knowledge. Wait for the storm. The flood begins. And then it came. The skies split open. The earth convulsed. The deluge descended with unimaginable force. This was no ordinary storm. It lasted 7 days and 7 nights, washing away cities, temples, and towers. The ziggurats, once proud stairways to the heavens, crumbled into muddy graves. The records of mankind etched in clay were scattered, buried, and broken. The gods themselves, watching from orbit or from distant dimensions, wept at the devastation. This was not just a flood. It was a reset, a planetary reboot. The Anunnaki had done what Enlil commanded. They had obliterated their creation, or so they thought. The survival of the chosen. Ziusudra survived. When the waters receded, he emerged into a world of silence, a world reborn. His ark rested on a mountain, much like Ararat, though Sumerian texts place it in the Zagros Mountains of ancient Iran. The gods, shocked by his survival, met again. Enlil was enraged. Enki stood his ground, and then something extraordinary happened. The gods saw that Ziusudra had survived not through defiance, but through wisdom and trust. He had obeyed Enki's cryptic warning. He had preserved the knowledge of the world. And so Enlil relented. Ziusudra was granted immortality. This act echoes through time, into the tale of Utnapishtim in the Epic of Gilgamesh, into the Book of Genesis, and perhaps even into other cultures across the globe that tell of a great flood and a lone survivor. Clues beneath the earth. Today, archaeology supports these stories. In cities like Shuruppak and Ur, scientists have found clear flood layers, deep strata of silt and clay that separate earlier civilization from what came after. It's not just myths, it's geological memory. And it's not just in Mesopotamia. The ancient Maya tell of a flood sent by the gods. As Hopi speak of a watery purge from which a few survivors emerged. Even in China, the tale of Yu the Great speaks of flood control after divine punishment. Could it be that all these floods are not coincidental, but echoes of the same event? The real agenda. Some theorists believe the flood was more than punishment. It was containment. That the Anunnaki feared what humanity was becoming. That the Nephilim, offspring of the Igigi, were growing in power. That Earth was becoming a battleground for rival divine factions. If that's true, then the flood was a bold strategic move to eliminate variables, reset the experiment, and start over. But this time, under tighter control. Humanity wasn't destroyed, it was reformatted. Legacy of the flood. After the waters, humanity began again. Kingship was re-established in Kish. Cities rose once more. Temples were rebuilt. But the gods did not walk among men as they once had. Their presence became ritual. Their voices became symbol. And their rule became myth. Still, they were watching. Chapter 6. The Tower of Babel, humanity's second rebellion. What if the Tower of Babel wasn't just a symbol of pride, but a failed attempt to reach the gods in space? After surviving the flood, humanity began to flourish once more, guided subtly by divine whispers and ancient memory. But with survival came ambition. With rebuilding came defiance. And soon, the children of Earth attempted something unprecedented, to storm the heavens themselves. This was the Tower of Babel, not just a tower, but a cosmic rebellion. And a new generation rises. The survivors of the Great Flood passed on their stories of gods and skies and punishment and salvation. These tales, carried in oral tradition, eventually became scripture and myth, yet retained a hidden technological thread. As the generations multiplied, so too did their knowledge. The human mind, no longer content with mere survival, turned its focus upward. The sky, once the realm of the gods, became the new frontier. Under the leadership of a mighty ruler known as Nimrod, the people began to unify. He was more than a king, he was a visionary, and what he envisioned was nothing less than a gateway to the stars. And the tower as a launch pad. Ancient texts describe the Tower of Babel as a structure that reached into the heavens. But what if this wasn't just poetic language? Many ancient astronaut theorists suggest the tower was not a temple or ziggurat in the religious sense, but rather a massive launch platform, a spaceport designed to connect humanity with the Anunnaki. Sumerian architecture had long included step pyramids, but this structure, being constructed in Shinar, thought to be Sumer or Babylon, was unlike anything before it. It was vast, monolithic, technologically advanced, or at least it aspired to be. The people believed that if they could ascend far enough, they could reclaim knowledge from the gods, reach the Anunnaki's celestial realm, become divine themselves. This was humanity's second rebellion, not with weapons but with ambition, at divine intervention and the division of tongues. But the gods were watching. Enlil, already disillusioned by humanity's defiance, saw this as another dangerous act, a threat to the balance. He summoned a divine council. According to the Book of Genesis, God came down and confused their language so they could not understand one another. But the Christian Sumerian version offers something deeper. The gods disabled the project with intervention, not by magic, but through technology. What if the confusion of tongues was the introduction of multiple genetic, linguistic, or even neurological alterations? A scrambling of mental codes to prevent the next level of evolution. One day, the workers on the tower could understand one another. The next, they could not. The work stopped. The vision died. The people scattered. But what if that scattering was intentional? And the birth of nations. From this point, the world fractured into different civilizations: Egyptian, Indus Valley, Olmec, Chinese, and others, each with their own language, gods and myths. Yet common symbols persisted: sky beings, flying discs, god kings with elongated skulls, towers or mountains that reached the heavens. It's as if the Anunnaki allowed humans to grow again, but this time in isolation. Divided, they could no longer rise as one. Separated, their technologies would stagnate. Scattered, their collective power would remain dormant. The vast Tower of Babel had been a wake-up call to the gods. Humanity was remembering too much, reaching too far. So the reset button was hit again, this time not with water but with division. Echoes in architecture. Despite the divine sabotage, the dream of the tower echoed across time. The ziggurats of Mesopotamia, the Ed pyramids of Egypt and Mesoamerica, and the Wat temples of Angkor Wat and the stupas of the East. Even in modern culture, the obsession with skyscrapers and space travel continues. Each structure, whether sacred or scientific, reflects a deep-rooted desire to return to the stars, to reconnect with those who came before, to break through the barrier imposed on us. Was Nimrod more than a man? Legends say Nimrod became a god. Others say he challenged God and was cast down. But there are fringe theories that suggest Nimrod may not have been fully human, that his lineage came from the Nephilim, or that he was genetically enhanced, a hybrid with Anunnaki DNA. If so, his leadership of Babel wasn't mere rebellion, it was reclamation. the return of a bloodline destined to reign. Some even suggest Nimrod didn't die, but was preserved or taken, awaiting a time when the stars would align once more for mankind's next cosmic leap. And the hidden message of Babel. More than a story of pride, Babel is a cautionary tale, not just about man overreaching, but about how far we once reached. Was it a prototype launch tower? Or was it a stargate, a cosmic communication array? Or was it simply a bold act of memory, an echo of humanity's ancient connection to the Anunnaki? Whatever the truth, the fall of the tower marked the end of an era and the beginning of our forgotten age. Chapter 7. The Igigi Rebellion. The Watchers who fell from the sky. They came from the stars, but when they fell, they didn't leave. What were the Igigi really doing on Earth? Before humanity toiled in gold mines, before cities were born and kings were crowned, there were the Igigi, a group of lesser gods, or perhaps the first extraterrestrial workers. They did not rule, they served, until one day they refused. This is the story of the first mutiny in the heavens. At the Anunnaki's labor force. In the earliest Sumerian accounts, the Anunnaki did not come to Earth alone. They brought with them the Igigi, beings tasked with the physical labor required to terraform and mine the planet for its most precious resources, gold. According to the ancient texts, gold was not for wealth or ornamentation. It was needed to repair the dying atmosphere of Nibiru, the homeworld of the Anunnaki. Gold, when suspended as fine particles in the atmosphere, acted as a shield, reflecting radiation and preserving climate. To obtain this gold, the Anunnaki set up massive mining operations deep in the earth, particularly in its southern Africa, as indicated by archaeological anomalies and ancient maps. But it wasn't the gods themselves who dug. It was the Igigi. Who were the Igigi? The Igigi were described as semi-divine, celestial workers, not as powerful as Enki or Enlil, but still more advanced than humans. They were possibly the younger generation of Anunnaki, or even a different species altogether. Depictions in Mesopotamian art show them with wings, helmets, and tools, suggesting their role as pilots, technicians, and miners. Some scholars liken them to astronauts, beings deployed in orbit or on the surface to carry out orders. For the thousands of years, the Igigi endured harsh conditions, until one day they had enough. The rebellion at the spaceport. The key event comes from the Atrahasis epic, one of the oldest Mesopotamian creation stories. According to the tablets, the Igigi carried the workload night and day. They were complaining, grumbling, muttering in their dwellings. Let us confront our master and get him to relieve us of our heavy work. And so, in an act of defiance, the Igigi set fire to their tools, surrounded Enlil's dwelling, and refused to work. They didn't just quit, they stormed the gates of the gods. This was a cosmic labor strike, the first recorded rebellion in the heavens, and it set in motion a chain of events that would change Earth forever. Creation of humanity, a solution or a consequence. Faced with a full-scale uprising, the Anunnaki leadership was thrown into chaos. Enlil, furious, demanded punishment, but Enki, ever the thinker, proposed a radical solution. Let us create a worker, a being fashioned from earth and divine essence. Let them bear the toil of the gods. Thus, humanity was born. We were not the first inhabitants. We were the replacement, brought into existence not as a divine miracle, but as a biological workaround to avoid further rebellion from the Igigi. The fusion of Anunnaki genetics with earthly hominids created a species that could think, obey, reproduce, and most importantly, mine. But not all Igigi were pleased with this plan. The fallen watchers, some Igigi, those stationed in Earth's orbit or who had become emotionally entangled with human life, refused to return home. These are the beings later known in biblical and apocryphal texts as the Chi Watchers, celestial beings who descended to Earth, interbred with human women, and fathered a race of giants, the Nephilim. According to the Book of Enoch, these fallen watchers taught humanity forbidden knowledge, weapon-making, sorcery, astrology, the secrets of the heavens. They weren't just rebels. They were liberators to some, villains to others. The Anunnaki Council, appalled by the contamination of their new creation, waged war against the Watchers, binding them in chains, banishing them to the depths. But the bloodline they left behind, it endured. In the myths of Atlantis, the blood of kings, and perhaps even in us. The Igigi's legacy. Though their rebellion was crushed, the Igigi planted seeds that would change the world. Humanity was created because of them. Forbidden knowledge was shared by them. The balance between gods and mortals was forever disrupted by them. In a way, the Igigi may have been the true catalysts of free will, rejecting slavery, demanding purpose, and showing that even the divine must face resistance. Their story is mostly erased, buried in fragments of broken tablets, but their echo still lives on in myths of fallen angels, star beings, and watchers who never left, and unanswered questions. Were the Igigi truly enslaved, or were they a subordinate species programmed for obedience? Were the Watchers acting out of love or rebellion? Now, did the Nephilim bloodline survive into historical elites, or is it buried in the collective human genome? One thing is certain, the heavens were not united, and from that divide we were born. Chapter 8. The Divine Bloodlines. When gods ruled as kings on earth. What if your royal ancestors weren't just kings, but gods who walked among men? The ancient world didn't just believe in gods, it claimed to be ruled by them. From the throne of Sumer to the pyramids of Egypt, kings did not rule by power alone, but by divine right of descent. Could humanity's earliest rulers have carried the blood of the Anunnaki? Kingship descended from heaven according to the Sumerian king list, a mysterious document inscribed on cuneiform tablets over 4,000 years ago. When kingship was lowered from heaven, kingship was in Eridu. This phrase is no metaphor. Ancient scribes did not say that kings were chosen by the gods. They said kingship was delivered from the heavens itself. The first kings didn't rise from the people. They descended, either symbolically or literally, from the gods above. But who were these rulers really? The blood of the Anunnaki. The Anunnaki, led by Enki and Enlil, are said to have created humanity. But among their greatest secrets was the crafting of a hybrid bloodline, beings who were not fully divine but not fully human either. These hybrid offspring were more intelligent than ordinary humans, physically stronger, long-lived, some said to live hundreds, even thousands of years, and they often carried an aura of divine right that granted them absolute rule. These beings became god-kings, rulers of early empires, often depicted in statues and carvings with exaggerated heads, wings, or otherworldly features. Could these be the Nephilim of the Bible? The demigods of Greek myth? The divine pharaohs of ancient Egypt? The first cities ruled by the gods. The Sumerian king list names cities like Eridu, Bad, Tibera, Larak, Sippar, Shuruppak. Each of these was ruled by a god-king, sometimes reigning for tens of thousands of years. Take Alulim of Eridu, the first king of Earth, said to have reigned for 28,800 years. These reigns were so long they defy logic, unless we assume that these kings were not fully human. And when the Great Flood came, washing away these cities, kingship was said to descend again to the survivors, the descendants of the divine bloodline. Egyptian pharaohs, sons of the gods. In ancient Egypt, pharaohs weren't merely kings. They were literally believed to be the sons of gods. Many pharaohs claimed descent from Ra, Osiris, or Horus, beings portrayed as more than human, often with avian or reptilian traits. Was this symbolism or memory? Egyptian myths speak of a time before dynasties, a golden age ruled by the Neteru, divine beings who came from the sky and taught humanity law, medicine, and architecture. Pharaohs were said to inherit not just power, but sacred DNA, preserved through royal bloodlines and interbreeding among elites to maintain purity. The divine right of kings. This concept, that kings ruled by divine right, didn't end with Sumer or Egypt. It echoed through the god kings of India, the mandate of heaven in China, the Holy Roman emperors, and even into modern monarchies. But what if this wasn't just ideology? What if, long ago, there truly were beings among us who wielded technology, knowledge, and genetics so advanced they were seen as gods? What if those bloodlines still exist, hidden, diluted, or protected among today's most powerful families? Secrets hidden in plain sight. From the Merovingians of France to the dragon bloodlines of Asia, many royal houses claim mysterious origins, often from beings not of this world. Some even believe the Ark of the Covenant, the Holy Grail, or the crown jewels are not relics of faith, but technological artifacts passed down through these divine bloodlines. Could these objects hold genetic data, ancient energy, or maps to lost Anunnaki knowledge? The legacy of the god kings. Whether literal or symbolic, the idea that the gods once ruled Earth is nearly universal. From the ziggurats of Sumer to the throne of Solomon, legends speak of rulers who walked with divine power and left behind both wonders and warnings. Today their tombs may be hidden, their artifacts buried, and their stories dismissed as myth. But what if they were real? And what if their descendants still walk among us? Unanswered questions. Did these god kings possess Anunnaki technology to prolong life? Why did the divine bloodlines fade or go underground? Are today's elite families connected to these ancient lines? Perhaps humanity's true history lies not in stone, but in blood. Chapter 9. The War of the Gods. Enki versus Enlil and the fate of humanity. What happens when gods go to war? And we're the ones caught in the crossfire. The story of the Anunnaki is not just one of creation, it is one of division. Of two brothers locked in an ancient rivalry, one a guardian, the other a ruler. One uplifted humanity, the other sought to control it. This is the war that shaped the world, the clash of Enki and Enlil, the two pillars of the Anunnaki. In the pantheon of the Anunnaki, two figures stand above all others. Enlil, the commander of earth operations, son of the high god Anu, and master of law, order, and discipline. Enki, the god of wisdom, creation, and water, a scientist, alchemist, and rebel. Though brothers, their visions for Earth and humanity could not have been more different. Enlil believed in hierarchy, obedience, and divine rule. Enki believed in growth, adaptation, and freedom. Their conflict wasn't just ideological, it was cosmic, and we were at the center of it. Creation and rebellion. When the Igigi rebelled and humanity was created to take their place, Enki was the architect. He infused his creation with gifts, language, agriculture, creativity, even reproduction, which Enlil initially opposed. To Enlil, humans were a tool, temporary labor. To Enki, they were a new life form, worthy of protection and evolution. This fundamental disagreement would erupt into full-scale conflict time and time again. When Enlil tried to destroy humanity with the Great Flood, Enki defied him. When Enlil sought to erase knowledge, Enki encoded it in temples, tablets, and DNA. When Enlil demanded obedience, Enki taught humans to question the gods themselves. The divine divide becomes global. As civilizations spread, they reflected the values of their divine patrons. Enlil's cities were highly structured, militant, and focused on law and sacrifice. Enki's cities fostered creativity, invention, healing, and self-governance. Over time, this rift created two worldviews: a world ruled by fear, hierarchy, and divine control. A world awakened to knowledge, individuality, and empowerment. These two forces clashed across cultures, mirrored in gods like Zeus versus Prometheus, Yahweh versus the serpent, Marduk versus Tiamat, and even science versus religion. But behind every myth was the same duality. The Tablets of Destiny, one of the most mysterious and powerful artifacts in Sumerian lore, is the Tablet of Destinies, a device said to hold the fate of the universe, capable of altering reality, granting divine authority, and even controlling time. Possession of the tablet meant absolute rule. It changed hands multiple times, from Anu to Enlil, from Enlil to Ninurta. And briefly, it was even stolen by Enki's son Marduk, igniting a war among the gods. The battle over the tablet wasn't just about power, it was about the right to shape the future. It's possible this tablet was not a literal scroll, but an advanced Anunnaki technology, an interdimensional device, a data core, or even a form of living AI. Humanity's role in the divine conflict, while the Anunnaki fought, humanity evolved. Some humans were aligned with Enki, guardians of lost knowledge, priest-scientists and rebels. Others followed Enlil's line, loyal to the laws, builders of empires, enforcers of divine will. This split may be the origin of secret societies, bloodline wars, and ancient cults, each attempting to preserve or reclaim the divine agenda of their patron. Even modern history echoes the feud: progress versus control, freedom versus authority, illumination versus obedience. The War of the Gods never truly ended. It simply changed its battleground. The exile of Marduk and the rise of Babylon, as Enki's son, Marduk, inherited his father's ambition, but amplified it. When Marduk declared himself the rightful ruler of Earth, Enlil's faction rebelled. A cosmic civil war followed, culminating in the exile of Marduk and the destruction of his followers' cities. Eventually, Marduk would return, in Babylon, where he claimed supreme deity status and became the God King of Kings. This period marks the transition from open Anunnaki rule to a more symbolic, priest-controlled dominion, where power was veiled in ritual and bloodlines. Are we still caught in their war? Many believe the war between Enki and Enlil continues today, through proxies, bloodlines, governments, and ideologies. That what appears as human conflict may actually be ancient cosmic chess, played by forces still beyond our comprehension. Perhaps this explains sudden rises and falls of civilizations, technological surges followed by dark ages, prophetic wars foretold in ancient texts. If Enki sought our freedom and Enlil demanded control, then the fate of humanity still hangs in the balance. Unresolved questions: did Enki truly want to liberate us or control us in a different way? Is Enlil's wrath what drove the gods to abandon Earth? Who really holds the Tablet of Destinies now? Perhaps the real war isn't between gods at all, but within us, between the divine spark we inherited and the control systems that still cage it. Next chapter preview. Chapter 10. The Return of Nibiru. Is Planet X real and coming back? Chapter 10. The Return of Nibiru. Is Planet X real and coming back? What if a hidden planet is returning, bringing back the gods who made us? For decades, astronomers have debated the existence of a mysterious world lurking beyond the edges of our solar system. The ancients didn't debate it. They recorded it. They named it Nibiru, the celestial home of the Anunnaki. Could this rogue planet be real? And if so, is it coming back? The homeworld of the Anunnaki, in the Lost Book of Enki and other Sumerian texts translated by Zecharia Sitchin, Nibiru is described as a massive planet with an elongated elliptical orbit, taking 3,600 years to complete one revolution around the Sun. This planet was not merely part of the solar system, it was home to the gods. According to Sitchin's interpretations, Nibiru is the origin of the Anunnaki. It passed close to Earth during key events in ancient history. Its gravitational force caused cataclysms, floods, and even planetary collisions. Though dismissed by mainstream science, the concept of a rogue returning planet has gained new life in recent years under another name, Planet X. Modern science catches up. In recent decades, astronomers have detected gravitational anomalies in the outer solar system, suggesting the presence of a large, unseen object influencing the orbits of Neptune, Pluto, and Kuiper Belt objects. In 2016, researchers at Caltech proposed the existence of Planet 9, a planet roughly 10 times the mass of Earth, hidden in the distant reaches of space. This object has never been directly seen, but its presence is inferred through motion and math, just as Neptune was discovered. Is this the long-lost Nibiru the Sumerians spoke of? Or is something even stranger at play? A deliberately cloaked planet, invisible to our technology, but not to ancient eyes. When will Nibiru return? If Nibiru truly has a 3,600-year orbit, its last near-Earth passage could coincide with ancient cataclysms. The Great Flood. The fall of ancient cities, shifts in magnetic fields and axial tilts. Some theorists believe we are nearing the next return. Signs include unexplained celestial sightings, increases in solar flares and geomagnetic storms, tectonic activity, climate disruptions, and the rise of prophetic warnings from ancient traditions. Could the return of Nibiru be tied to global transformation or global catastrophe? A planet or a mothership? While some believe Nibiru is a natural body, others suggest it may be artificial. A planet-sized ship, hollow or biomechanical in nature, engineered by the Anunnaki. This theory proposes that Nibiru isn't bound by gravity alone. It can alter its orbit, enter stasis, or even phase in and out of observable space. It serves as a hub containing technology, knowledge, and possibly sleeping gods. In this view, Nibiru doesn't just return physically. It returns with purpose. And when it does, nothing will be the same. Biblical and mythological parallels. The idea of a returning celestial force is not unique to Sumerian lore. In the Bible, the return of divine beings is linked to the day of the Lord and the descent of the New Jerusalem from the heavens. In Hopi prophecy, the blue kachina signals a great planetary reset. The Maya spoke of cyclical destruction and rebirth tied to the stars. Even the Book of Revelation describes a great celestial upheaval where the stars fall to earth and the sky is rolled back like a scroll. Could these texts be referring not to metaphors, but to Nibiru's reappearance? What are the Anunnaki waiting for? If Nibiru is real, and if the Anunnaki are still alive, or in suspended animation aboard it, then the question becomes, why haven't they returned yet? There are many theories. They are observing us, waiting for humanity to reach a certain level of consciousness or technology. They await a cosmic alignment or frequency resonance to re-engage with Earth. They are prevented from returning by other cosmic forces, perhaps even a galactic council or quarantine protocol placed around Earth. Whatever the reason, the return of Nibiru would not just be astronomical. It would be spiritual, political, and existential. Unanswered questions. Is Planet X truly out there? And is it inhabited? Are we being prepared for the return through subtle disclosure? And when the gods come back, will they come as saviors or judges? The ancients watched the skies for a reason. Perhaps we should too. Chapter 11. The Prophecies of Enki. Did he foresee our future? What if the God who made us also warned us about what's coming next? Among the many voices etched into clay and stone, one speaks with profound clarity, not just about the past, but about the future. That voice is Enki, the architect of humanity, the rebel of the gods, and the prophet of what lies ahead. Did Enki leave us warnings? If so, are we now living through the age he foresaw? The forgotten voice of a god. Unlike his brother Enlil, Enki was not a warmonger. He was a thinker, a scientist, a builder, a teacher, and perhaps more than anything else, a watcher of time. The Lost Book of Enki is more than myth. It reads like a record, a memoir written by a being who witnessed the rise of Earth's civilizations, shaped humanity, and foretold what would come next. His tone is often sorrowful, even warning. He saw what was coming, not only from the stars, but from within us. Cycles of time and consciousness. Enki's writings suggest that time is not linear, but cyclical. The rise and fall of civilizations, the return of Nibiru, the reawakening of divine knowledge, all of it repeats, like a cosmic rhythm tied to planetary movements, solar frequencies, and the state of human consciousness. These are echoed in Mayan long count calendars, Hindu yugas, Sumerian king list cycles. Even the precession of the equinoxes Enki hinted that Earth passes through ages of light and shadow, epochs of awakening followed by descent into ignorance, only to rise again. Could our current era of rapid tech, global upheaval, and spiritual searching be one of those prophesied transitions? The return of the star beings. Enki's texts describe beings who come and go from Earth, not only the Anunnaki, but others as well. The watchers who disobeyed cosmic law, the judges who enforce it, the star messengers who arrive before great change. Enki foresaw a time when humanity once again would look to the stars, not just in wonder, but in search of its origin. He warned that with this reawakening would come division. Those who seek to liberate humanity through knowledge, and those who seek to control it through fear. It's not hard to see the parallels in today's world. The rise of artificial intelligence. In a stunning moment of foresight, some believe Enki's references to machines that think, living tools, and creations with no soul may point toward artificial intelligence. Are we, in a strange twist of fate, repeating the same arc the Anunnaki once walked? Creating life in our own image, playing God through genetic editing and machine consciousness, losing control of our own creations. Enki's tone is not condemning, but cautionary. He does not say, do not create, but rather, create with wisdom, or suffer the consequence. The final conflict foretold. Enki's final entries, whether symbolic or literal, speak of a great reckoning, a time when humanity will face a choice, to rise and take its place among the stars, or to fall into another cycle of destruction and forgetfulness. He speaks of a false light, a power that mimics truth but leads to enslavement, and of a great awakening that will begin with a few and ripple across generations. Sound familiar? Modern spiritual movements, ancient prophecy, quantum theory, and even whistleblower testimonies echo this bifurcation point. A fork in the path of civilization. Sacred sites and stargates. Enki hinted that ancient temples, pyramids, and ziggurats were not merely places of worship, but anchors, built at energy nodes across the Earth, aligned to star systems and seasonal gateways. He described devices buried in stone, waiting to be reactivated, halls of records, hidden beneath sphinxes, mountains and seabeds, sky portals that once linked Earth to the stars. If Enki's prophecies are true, then some of the greatest secrets of our origins are not lost, only locked. And when the time comes, they will be opened. Was Enki our protector, or something else? This question lingers through every verse, every line. Was Enki a benevolent being who defied tyranny to elevate humanity? Or was he simply another Anunnaki manipulating us for a different kind of control? Some call him Prometheus, others call him Lucifer. In Egypt he may be Ptah or Thoth. In other cultures he is the serpent of knowledge, feared but also revered. Whatever his identity, Enki left a trail, not just of who we were, but who we're becoming. Unanswered questions. Are we now living in the time Enki warned about? Will the awakening be spiritual, cosmic, or both? Are his records still buried, in DNA, in monuments, or in time itself? Perhaps Enki's greatest prophecy is not about destruction or salvation. Perhaps it's the realization that we were never meant to be controlled. Chapter 12. The Watchers are still watching. Are we ready for contact? What if the gods never left and have been watching us this entire time? Across the deserts, beneath the oceans, and hidden within ancient mountains, their presence lingers. Not in myth, but in monitoring. Not in worship, but in observation. The Watchers, those celestial beings who once descended, rebelled, and were cast out, were never fully gone. The signs suggest they are still here. And the question is no longer, are we alone? It's, are we being watched? From heaven to orbit, the term Watchers originates in ancient Mesopotamian, Hebrew, and apocryphal texts, describing angelic or godlike beings assigned to observe humanity. But what if these weren't metaphysical spirits, but extraterrestrial overseers? A surveillance force assigned by higher powers, perhaps even a galactic council, to monitor Earth's development. The Sumerians said these Watchers once lived in orbit, descending only when necessary. Today, the idea of sky gods has been replaced by talk of UFOs, black triangle crafts, orb-like probes, and interdimensional entities that appear and vanish at will. Could these phenomena be the same beings using more advanced methods? Why are they watching? If the Anunnaki, or a faction of them, are still present, why haven't they made contact? Enki's final prophecies, as well as many global traditions, suggest a few possibilities. They are observing whether we self-destruct or evolve. They are bound by non-interference agreements. They await a cosmic cycle or alignment to engage fully. Some ancient alien researchers propose Earth is under a kind of quarantine, protected and restricted, like a developing world in a galactic system. We may be a case study, a test, a mirror for greater cosmic truths, modern encounters, and the UAP disclosure era. In recent years, government agencies, including the Pentagon, have publicly acknowledged unidentified aerial phenomena, UAPs. Videos released show crafts defying known physics. Whistleblowers describe recovered non-human technology, even biological entities. Could these be surveillance crafts, ancient beings returning to observe their creation, or remnants of the Watcher class, quietly moving through our skies? The shift is no longer if they exist, but why they remain hidden. Ancient monuments as beacons. From Göbekli Tepe to the Giza Plateau, Earth is covered in structures aligned with stars, broadcasting something, or perhaps waiting to be activated. Are the pyramids stargates? Is the Eye of the Sahara a former Watcher base? Are crop circles messages or warnings? Many believe these sites are cosmic markers left behind by beings who promised to return, or who never truly left. The return, invitation or invasion. As humanity edges closer to space colonization, AI sentience, and planetary unity, the question of contact becomes more urgent. Will the Watchers return as teachers, guiding us forward, or as judges responding to how we've treated each other and the Earth? What if contact isn't about ships landing, but about consciousness opening? What if it begins not with lights in the sky, but with awakening from within? Because maybe, just maybe, the gods never truly left. They're in the whispers of DNA. They're etched in sacred stone. They're hidden in time, waiting. The final questions: are the Watchers protecting us or monitoring us? Is there a countdown hidden in prophecy waiting to unfold? And most importantly, are we ready? Are we ready to face those who made us, judged us, saved us, and left us? Are we ready to step into the stars, not as children, but as equals? Because the final truth may be this: the Watchers never left. They've just been waiting for us to wake up. Closing narration. We began in darkness, beneath stars we couldn't name, worshipping gods we didn't understand. But piece by piece, the truth has returned, etched in stone, written in our bones, whispered through forbidden books and broken tablets. This is not the end of the story. It is the beginning of remembering who we are.